All right. Welcome back to the next episode of the We're Getting Rowdy podcast. As you know, I'm Tyler McBee,
I'm Cooper Bell.
and we're just here to bring you a kind of eventful / uneventful week here on Rocky Top with UT Athletics. We'll start out, I would say, with the Lady Ball basketball when they ended up taking on Furman this past Thursday. Ended up dominating that game 90-53. And you could say one of the biggest bright spots of that was Ray Burrell went off that game. Career day of 26 points.
She played good.
And I mean, let's not forget, 14 three-pointers were made from the Lady Vols. They shot about 60% from the three-point line, which, I mean, yes, you could say it's Furman, but still, you shoot 60% from three-point line. That's just wow, is all I have to say.
Yeah, for real.
And then, overall, though, I was pretty impressed with what I saw from the girls. Walker, the transfer we got, ended up getting 14 points.
Mm-hmm.
And even seeing Jaden McCoy ended up putting up some good numbers too. And not to mention, going back to those three-pointers, Ray had 6 of them.
Yeah, she played really well.
And this is something I know a lot of us have wanted to see because Ray last season, she was more on and off a lot, if I from what I was remembering. One game she'd go lights out, next game she'd kind of hit that little ice cold part.
Yeah.
This season in these first few games, Ray has played a lot more consistent and been the type of player that we all know she can be.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just getting excited seeing what a lot of these younger girls are doing because they're actually recording some decent minutes out in the game. And just, I mean, you just want to see us get back to that competitive standpoint from the Lady Vols. And I still believe Kelly Harper is getting us there.
Oh, I do too. Kelly, yeah. Both basketball programs are in great hands.
Yeah, and staying on top of basketball, the men's game, it had me worried a little bit, I'll admit.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say worried is how I was. I was just like, really? Because I know that we're a better team than what we showed on Saturday. I was just like, is this really how we're gonna play the second game of the season?
Yeah.
But then, you got to keep in mind, we're just knocking rust off. This is nothing to worry about. Once our offense comes into shape, we're gonna be so good.
That is true. And we really didn't have a lot of practice going into these first 2 basketball games out there. So, for seeing what we've had to deal with, I'm still proud of what the men's team has done. And in my opinion, one of the bright spots for us, Jaden Springer, one of the true freshmen in this Cincinnati game, just literally coming out with 11 points off the bench right there. Just led all the bench players. And, of course, Fulke is, our main guy with scoring 15 points for us, which we usually expect, a guy like him or Pons to be up there. But, yeah, no, what I saw from Jaden Springer, it's really making me excited to see what his development is going to come under Rick Barnes.
Me too.
And still staying with basketball, we all can agree one thing that makes a Tennessee win even better, Kentucky's men's basketball losing and starting 1-4 on the season.
Yes. You love to see that. You love to see it.
That we do. And then also, just another name of a guy I want to touch on for the men's team. Everybody keeps overlooking him. EJ Anasicki.
That dude is physical. He has no quit.
That he is. And just, it's he does remind me a lot of his big sister from when she was on those back-to-back national championships under Pat. Very physical player. And like I said, everybody's paying attention, more towards Keon, Victor Bailey, and Jaden as the newer faces out there. But everybody's got to still look at what EJ's. He's helping give that big presence down there and adding extra depth to the big guys like Fulke, Pons, Urosh out there, and having EJ. That's four good guys in that rotation to where we're not having to rely on all the really, really young guys as
Yeah,
much for our bigs.
yeah, for sure. And also, like, I the way that EJ is playing, you love the way that he plays because he's just he's nonstop. He's pedal to the metal. He's nonstop, all gas, no. Like he's intense. If you haven't seen a game this year, whenever you do watch a game, watch EJ Anasicki. He is nonstop. He is a good player. The exact type of player that you want with our culture.
That I can agree 100% too. And then another big game we had, in-state rivalry, Tennessee football versus Vanderbilt. I mean, we were all going in knowing that we should have won. We ended up getting that big
Yeah.
win, and we just proved this is our state at this point. Like, we got to be able to say
Andy is
that.
still a little brother.
And I'll admit, Harrison Bailey and even Shrout, like the reps that Shrout got in there, like, yeah, I want to see Shrout get more consistent, but I like Shrout right now better as the deep passing threat. Harrison, I think, has better like composure closer up to the line with like all your short dumps and your reads and
Yeah.
everything. But both young quarterbacks really impressed me with what they did that game.
Yeah, they impressed me as well, but I still don't know why you pull Harrison Bailey whenever he starts 7 for 7. To me, that makes absolutely no sense. You know, Pruitt. Part of the reason why he wasn't starting Harrison Bailey. At, can you hear me? I feel like
If you can probably turn it up just a little bit.
cause my Zoom is weird. All right, can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's getting a little bit better. Just try to turn it up just maybe a little bit more of a notch.
All
Sorry,
right, how
everybody, a
about
little
now?
technical issues.
How about now?
That's better.
All right. But my thing is earlier in the season, Pruitt was talking about how the reason why we weren't starting Harrison Bailey was because he needed more experience, right? Well, now Harrison's getting experience and he's playing well. Like I said, go 7 for 7 for over 100 yards, and you pull him. That makes absolutely no sense. This is your quarterback of the future. You you signed him to be the quarterback of the future, and you pull him in a game where he was playing well. And honestly, this is like it's Vandy. Like
Yeah,
mistakes aren't going to hurt you. So I just don't understand why you pull Harrison Bailey in a game where he starts 7 for 7, and you know that he's the quarterback of the future.
yeah, I can agree with you, but like I had mentioned, like to you at one point and a few of our other friends, I said the way I just saw it at first is I knew he felt like both Bailey and Shrout earned playing time. So maybe he just wanted to see who was going to move the ball better, like with a couple of series. Because after like that one, like we saw like Shrout was starting to move the ball pretty well. And then after the turnover, we just saw Bailey come back in and finish up like the rest of the game and keep getting more for us. So again, I don't know because but I can't really just make that judgment of why it was since we don't
Yeah,
know what was happening all around. But it does lead to some questioning of just what the mindset was.
yeah. And my thing is, you let Jarrett Garantano stay in the game after throwing 2 pick 6s, and you don't make a quarterback change, but yet you pull Harrison Bailey whenever he starts 7 for 7. It's just it just doesn't make sense to me. And I get that maybe they're wanting to see who can move the ball better, but if a quarterback's in rhythm, you don't take him out of that rhythm.
That is 100% true. But there was one time when I think it was a drive that Bailey was in when we saw Maurer get to go in and just
Yeah.
take off on that run. I was actually okay with that because we know Maurer is that like change of pace type
Yeah,
player.
I do like seeing Brad Maurer come in on those running packages.
And something I saw somebody at made a suggestion on Twitter. If he's willing to, maybe give Brian Maurer, see what he can do as maybe like a converted wide receiver or something out there.
Yeah.
I mean, kid's athletic enough out there. He's got the fight in him. And that could just make it even a much more crowded receiving room at that point, wide receiver room, looking at who we could potentially bring back especially take that extra free year here. And with who we got coming in as signing, it's just going to be interesting to see what it does. But yeah, like I love watching Maurer as a player, but I just don't know if him staying at Tennessee, like quarterback is his position. Then like I think he would need to be like become a converted like running back receiver at that point.
I completely agree. I mean, we all know that his future at Tennessee, if he does stay at Tennessee, is not going to be a quarterback. Everybody knows that. I mean, you have Harrison coming in, you got JT, and then now you have Kaden Salter coming in. So at best, he's going to be at least your your third string next year, and then probably even your fourth string. And a guy like Brian Maurer, he wants to see the field. So I mean, I could definitely see him maybe. If he doesn't transfer, see a position change in the future for him.
Yeah, and speaking of other offensive, like I was actually like impressed with both like the balance we had between the run game and the pass game.
Yeah.
Like I wish I could have seen Eric Gray, hit the end zone like with the running because he had some great runs on him. But seeing Ty break through like legit wide open on that one block. Nobody touched him. He just pretty much could have walked straight into the end zone at that point. And it was like, what, a 20-yard run too at that point?
Yeah, it was something like that.
But it was crazy. Like, I was impressed. And then seeing Jabari Small, that kid.
Jabari Small is so good.
He's a lot stronger than the kid looks. And then even though it was for a couple of snaps, seeing D. Beckwith, on the two runs he got. That's a powerful kid, but I still don't think he's going to be a running back next year. I think it was just because of depth this year, but I think he'll move over to that receiver tight end spot with us bringing in, the guys like Jalen Wright, Cody Brown, Tyon Evans. Like, I just don't think he'll stay over in the running back room.
And hearing you talk about moving him to a receiver, I actually – whenever me and my dad were watching the game yesterday, I asked him, I said, you know who he reminds me of, seeing him run down by the sideline, getting in the open field. And he asked me who, and I said, Cordero Patterson.
Yeah. And then another comparison I saw for Beckwith, just with his size, he could be like a Jason Kroom for us at that wide receiver, that bigger-bodied receiver out there that – it's going to be harder to take down. And the difference with Beckwith is he's a lot faster than Kroom was, too.
Yes, Jason Kroom is not known for his speed. That is for sure.
He was known for his physicality. And Beckwith, I mean, he's also going to be a walk-on after football to the basketball team, along with receiver Malachi Wideman. We know that. Yeah. So he has to have some speed to be able to do all of that. And then also, speaking of where we were just talked, he could be a receiver. Velus Jones Jr. Oh my gosh, what a game!
Had a game yesterday.
Like, this is a kid I want him to take that, become a sixth-year senior, use that free year of eligibility, come back. I said I'd even love Josh Palmer too. Like I said, if you really look at it, let's say like even Brandon Johnson comes back and we don't lose any receivers. So you're looking at having Ramel Keaton and Gibbs then back. You'll have Bayless. You'll have Josh Palmer, Brandon Johnson, Hyatt. You got Jimmy Callaway and Jimmy Holiday. You got Ced Tillman up there, another guy who's starting to see a little bit more chances. Plus, I say with some of the guys bringing in, you got Jordan Mosley, Walker Merrill, Julian Nixon, Rock Taylor. At that point, that is one scary wide receiver room.
Yeah,
looking at it, just from looking at it depth wise, that is what you want right there.
Oh yeah. And it's offensive depth is definitely not a worry, at least at the receiver room and running back room. That
I
is,
agree. And speaking of receivers, like I'll say this, like I said yesterday, I blinked and Jalen Hyatt was in the end zone after he caught the ball. That kid is just proving how fast he is.
he's he's. I feel sorry for whoever has to cover him.
I mean, we've seen what he can do. He burned Alabama's defensive backs, was able to get behind them. He can just get past everybody, which I do like because, especially when you throw it, just like make him run deep, even if you're not throwing it to him, look how much it pulls the safeties back. So
Mm,
it gives you more room to run with that middle of the field for those kind of passes.
yeah.
And then, speaking of somebody we know that actually has good connections with Hyatt, former teammate Bryce Thompson, solid game. And that one-handed interception.
All defense had a solid game.
Yeah, a lot of people did. Like I saw Henry T started to me looking like what we saw from him last year. Like, yes, it's against Vanderbilt, but it's like he was knocking off that like few game stint he was having of not really making a lot of huge plays.
Yeah.
But then even guys like Tank McCullough, Flowers, Crouch, Matt Butler, great games.
I saw Big O getting in there too. He was getting it out. He was getting after it.
Big O was, you got to see Bryson Eason make a play before Roman Harrison, like Tyler Barron, Dominic Bailey. Like, I don't think Dominic Bailey recorded any stats, but just seeing him at least out on the field, like, starting to get a few more reps.
Yeah.
Everybody thought, oh, because he early enrolled, he probably was going to be ahead of Big O. But I think Big O was like more developed already coming in here.
Yeah.
But again, a comment I made to a friend earlier, I said, like, in my opinion, I think we're starting to see now all these younger guys that Pruitt has brought in, like, starting to get used to the college speed of the game. So these guys who are freshmen are now, the game is slowing down for them to where they're not making as many freshman mistakes.
Yeah.
So it's good to see. And I mean, heck, even seeing a guy like Key Lawrence coming up with a few plays and like him being from Nashville, like Tyler Barron before he moved to Knox Catholic was from Innsworth as well. So like in that Nashville, seeing some of those boys from like the Middle Tennessee area doing work against like in their backyard, really, it
Yeah.
was cool to see them do that.
For sure. All right. So game balls. Who would you give a game ball to?
I want to give it to Harrison Bailey out there for offense. Just
Yeah.
seeing what the kid did. I mean, over 200 yards passing and 2 touchdowns. I got to give it to him on offense, leading
And
the
no
way.
interceptions either. That's nice.
For defense, I think I got to go Henry T. Just seeing the kind of game he put up. Like I'm torn between him or Matt Butler at that point.
Yeah.
And oh wait, sorry, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say I can agree.
And then special teams. You know what? I want to give it to Wilson, the like the walk-on place kicker we had, who
Yes.
came in. Like they said, I think he was from like the Nashville area. Yeah, he didn't kick a field goal, but he converted all of his extra points. Just seeing him getting that chance,
Yeah.
like not knocking what Paxton did. Paxton did great on a lot of his punts of what he needed to do, but just seeing a kid who wasn't really expected to get anything done with Samaglia gonna be here. It was kind of cool to see that happen for this
Yeah, it
team.
was. But let's see. For mine, like you said, I'll give offensive to Harrison Bailey. It's not really a question. Um, Defense, this is a tough one. Um, if I was, it's tough. I'll give one bet to the entire defensive line. They showed up to play yesterday. I swear, it seemed like they were in the backfield every single play. Um, Henry T, he's a good choice to give it to. Also, Bryce Thompson. Bryce Thompson played very well yesterday. So I really can't give it to one specific person. They all showed up, but I think if anything, I would just give it to the defensive line.
I can agree to that because again, people were saying yes, it's a team that like is now 0-9, but still, where we have been struggling on getting pressure back on anybody all season, seeing the defensive line finally be able to get back there like every play, and bringing in even like safety blitzes. I don't know how many times I saw Tank McCullough running back there, putting pressure as well. So yeah, I can easily get behind you on that one as well.
But all right, moving on. We got Texas A&M coming into town on Saturday, and it's scheduled for a 12 p.m. kick. Um, you know, we all know who Texas A&M is. They're ranked number 5. They're 7-1. You know, they beat Florida. Their only losses to Alabama. You know, they're a solid football team. You know, coached by old Jimbo Fisher. Um, you know, the guy that really scares me about Texas A&M is Kellen Mond. Kellen Mond is just he's a good quarterback. That's really all you can say about him, and that's all you need to say. He's
Yeah, I agree. And like what people keep forgetting is if things happen the right way, this A&M team could sneak their way into the college football playoffs
yeah,
at that point too.
yeah.
So
The scenario is they have to beat us on Saturday, and uh, Clemson has to lose to Notre Dame.
yeah, that's from what I've seen with it for them to sneak up into there. And I mean, it's possible to see
Yeah,
them get up in there. But, I know like everybody, we're going to be praying for the upset because we've seen anything can happen. I mean, just staying on the terms of an upset, we saw Florida get beat by LSU, who was 3-5 going into that
yeah,
game. So again, we could potentially still make this an upset, and yeah, in 4-6 on the season, which would be a lot better than what everybody was thinking after our serious drought we were starting to have.
yeah,
People just saying, "Let's go ahead and just make it 2-8," like wanting to give up completely. So, I mean, it's not where I know we wanted to finish, but
no.
it could have ended up worse for us.
Yeah, it could have ended up a lot worse. But
But yeah, it's going to be interesting seeing the quarterback matchups of Mond versus. We know at this rate Harrison's going to get the starting nod. It looks like
yeah,
because he's been playing more consistent over Shrout now.
yeah,
So seeing what that, and I mean, we got to get a solution for Spiller, that running
yes,
back at A&M.
yes, he is. Isaiah Spiller, he's something. That's for he's got 151 attempts and almost 900 yards with 6 touchdowns. He's averaging 6 yards a run. That's good.
Yeah, so this is again like a game we had previewed before, but because of all the contact tracing stuff, got postponed.
Yeah,
And so, yeah, it's again, now we're just further in the season, but I think just seeing the spark all these younger guys are giving us now, I think this is a chance that we're going to have a little bit better shot, in my opinion, going up against this A&M team than when we were originally going to play.
yeah. And I feel like now we have a little bit more confidence. You know, finally seeing a win. But I mean, it may make the game a little bit closer, but I don't think it changes the outcome. I still think, well, I know that Texas A&M is the better team than us, and it's not even close. It's not the fact that they just have like better players. It's just at this point they're coached better. You know, in my opinion, our coaching has been lackluster this season, to say the least. So at this point, I don't think it really changes the outcome. I do think we put up a little bit of a fight this game, but you know, in the end, the result's still going to be the same.
Yeah, but again, it's going to be something interesting to see, and just we can hope for a win. And then I was going to say, looking at what else is coming for the future, Lady Vols were supposed to be playing Texas the day we were recording this, but due to contact tracing stuff in Austin, they legit had to postpone it an hour and a half before tip off. So you get all the way down there. We were already doing our pregame shoot around stuff, and then it got called. So, yikes is all I gotta say. And then also another news, something coming up Tuesday. Men's basketball hosts Appalachian State, so get another game going for them.
Get another win.
Hopefully, we'll get another win in that column and just be able to see more now that rust is starting to knock off.
Yeah.
Of our guys. But other than that, the last little bit I would want to touch on is we got early signing day starting Wednesday, and it goes through Friday.
Yep.
Which we'll figure something out. Stay tuned because we might do a special edition podcast where we're going to break down all the football early signees. We'll just figure out a time to get it done. So you'll probably have maybe 2 episodes for a week at one point. But because, I mean, we kind of touched on the basketball signees, so why not the football guys?
Exactly.
And then just speaking of the SEC, what I think is going to make it interesting leading up to signing day, where some of our top targets, too, we're leaning towards Auburn, and where Gus Malzahn just got fired from Auburn, you're starting to think maybe some guys that were starting to lean towards Auburn could, like a guy like Terrence Lewis, could maybe easily have a better chance of getting swayed back towards us. So it's just a lot of interesting stuff to watch within these like next coming days, next few weeks. Just
we also got to think about transfers from Auburn as well.
Yeah, like of who could potentially enter the portal and everything. Like it's just a crazy time at this point, and it just shows anything can happen. So, I wouldn't be shocked if like some of those guys that were considering Auburn, like decide to come, like if Terrence decides to come back to us, and if some of those guys that picked Auburn over us in their initial recruitment, if they do hit the portal and give us a look, I would not be shocked at all whatsoever. And what's also, in my opinion, is going to determine it, how fast do these schools that are going to be are getting rid of their coaches, are they going to turn it around and get a coach in there? Because this close to signing day, that's sometimes edgy waters to go if you don't have somebody in mind, because then these kids might not go there if they don't know who's going to be around them.
Yeah, that is for sure.
But
all right, let's go. Do you have any game predictions for Saturday?
I'm going to go 35-21 with A&M getting the slight thing. So I think we keep it competitive, but in the end, just give it up by a couple of scores to where it's reasonable. Because if I'm not mistaken, I think they're like a 14-point favorite. So I think we're still able to cover that game.
Yeah. I'll agree with that. I'll say 38-24.
I like it. Yeah. And I mean, just seeing what we can do and just pray for the upsets, because again, like we've mentioned all year, we've seen so many crazy games in these COVIDs. But other than that, I think just like I said, it's like Christmas morning coming up soon, starting Wednesday for football fans, when everybody gets to see who's going to be the next crop of kids joining y'all's, like all the programs out there. So that's something I know every Tennessee fan should have something to look forward to, just like I know I am.
Also, I want to add one more thing. We want to lift up prayers to Keontae Johnson. If you don't know about him, he's a Florida basketball player. Saturday during their game, during a timeout, he was walking over to the bench and he collapsed. They rushed him to a hospital there in Tallahassee. Last I heard, he was in critical but stable condition. So definitely want to keep him in your thoughts and prayers.
I do agree with that, and that totally had blanked on me. I forgot about that, but because I'll just say this too, that is something scary to know. Because it could be anything causing him to pass out like that. And just me thinking of it, no family should ever have to see their child go through that at that point. So definitely prayers up to him from us and all of like the Rowdies and Ball Nation. It's like, this is things where it shows it's just a game. rivalries don't matter, like when it comes to something serious like this. But
Yeah.
other than that, I think that's all I got. So hopefully everybody enjoys a big orange week. And like always, go Vols.
Balls.